now it's the holiday time. Let's enjoy that with our family. No one is going to hire you right now because most of the people are on holiday as well. So either stress yourself or be present, enjoy. And then when January 1st is coming, let's go and let's go back into action, you know?
I just want to say the momentum that you bring is insanely contagious. And
thank you.
You're
always so nice.
Appreciate this because the real thing here is that when we're going through career transition or job search, our energy is typically not at its peak level. Let's just say 100%. That. You feel a sense of unbelonging, a sense of loss, lack of motivation, low energy. And then what happens? January 1st comes around and you're like, oh, now I have to be back on again. And so, you know, all of these things are so critical. But what do you say to people who are really down and saying, you know, well, this is my coping mechanism. This is how I am coping through the holidays, and I'll either deal with it later or I won't.
The idea of job security is outdated as a landline. If you haven't been in a search for a while, it's probable you will at some point, by choice or not. Most executives admit to staying way too long or sense what's coming and justify staying anyway. Here, there's another reason. The faulty belief that navigating to what's next will inevitably be worse and has to suck. Screw that. Lauren Greif has spent a lifetime in corporate and executive search, calling bullshit on stale career advice that most still use. This is Career Blast in a Half, the career podcast for executives ready to cut past outdated career advice to fuel your outcomes now. So let's go.
Hello, 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 and happy holidays, happy everything, joy, peace, love, the whole thing. But in this episode today, we're actually talking about seasons heedings, like heed the warning, and seasons eatings, because my guest today is here. OMG. Seriously, if you could only be in the room, in the studio with us, you would be just like in love. I mean, the amount of energy. And her name is Soraya Zidane. And she is a body transformation coach for high performers. And the reason why I wanted Soraya to come on this show is because last month alone, US-based companies announced 45,000 cuts, 24% increase from just October, the month prior. And the layoffs, we know, are not new. And they're not new to Meta, they're not new to Amazon or to Spotify, but sometimes this time of the year can make it sting even more. Whether you've been affected by a reduction or in the midst of a job search, there's something that you need to know about you, your body, and what is happening at this time of the year, and how you can make sure that the holidays are fueling, not fumbling, your job search. So, Soraya, I am so unbelievably delighted to have you here. And we met, of course. Why don't you tell us? When did we meet? Like, tell our audience.
Thank you so much for this introduction. I really appreciate, and I'm super grateful to be here as well with you. And you are also a ball of energy. So I'm not the only one here, you know. But yes, you and I met at the Summit of Greatness. It was like 3-4 months ago, right now. And that's how we connected. And I'm super grateful to be here today with you and connect again, you know.
So tell us also, first of all, like your approach to wellness and food, I know is not about deprivation or denial, but give us a little bit inside how you approach this topic of eating and wellness, especially as it relates to high stress periods of time. Maybe we've lost our job. Maybe we're just like going through some kind of, confusion or fear around something. So how do you categorize your approach?
Mm-hmm. So first of all, as you said, right, I don't believe in restriction. I don't believe in diet, because it's just not something that you can do for long enough. Like, it's not sustainable. And so for me, I'd rather have a lifestyle where I can eat whenever I feel like it, and create a lifestyle that's gonna make me thrive in my everyday life. And so that's why I don't believe in saying no to pizza or saying no to cookies. I believe it's like, okay, eat 80% of whole food. So 80% of food that isn't processed, mostly fruit, vegetables, lean meats, fish, things like that. And then 20% can be whatever you want. And I think if you follow that process, then it's easy, because you never really need to count, because you're mostly feeding your body with whole food, which is also, because the thing is, there are different type of calories, right? You have calories coming from whole food, where you have nutrients, vitamin, and like amazing nutrients and vitamins that are basically feeding your body. But then you also have calories coming, for example, from a Snickers or from processed cookies, which are just energy, but it's empty calorie. And so that's why I would say prioritize 80% of whole foods, and then 20% can be whatever you want. But yeah, I don't believe in diet, because if you cannot do it for the rest of your life, yes, you might see results after 2-3 months being on a diet, but eventually you won't be able to maintain your results, because you're gonna eventually fall off the wagon. And I know that for a fact, because I do love sweets. Like, I have a huge sweet tooth. And so I know that if I say, okay, I'm never going to eat a cookie again, it's not true. And then eventually I don't eat cookie for a while, but then I will overeat on this food. And then, so that's why I would say, don't deprive yourself from the food you love. Just learn how to eat, so that you can keep going with your fitness goals and your life.
I so appreciate that, because you work specifically with high performers. And
yeah, totally.
This audience of people, many, 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 in fact, probably the majority who are listening right now would classify themselves as a high performer. And what I've learned through you and your amazing content on LinkedIn, which of course we'll put in the show notes, is
thank you.
That somewhere in the neighborhood of 95% of high performers, they really do not prioritize their wellness.
Yes,
and
totally.
So when the stress gets high, even if you're just a high performer anyway, and now you add on extra stress, what is happening and what happens when we don't see those immediate consequences, and then all of a sudden we're faced with a time when we may be feeling low or depressed? How does this kind of I don't mean to be, how does this work or not work? And how can we address this before it becomes too late?
So I think that, first of all, a problem with the high achievers is that we usually tend to constantly do, and it's very hard for us to actually rest and to also stop for a while. And I think the holiday season can also be a little bit challenging and triggering, because it's a moment where we don't have to do anything most of the time. And especially, as you said, right, now a lot of people were laid off. And so, if you've been through a layoff right now, I think allowing yourself, yes, you will go back into action at some point, but allowing yourself first to stop and to accept the situation where you're at right now, and to also take a moment for yourself and rest is super important. And then after that, what I would say is that if you want to better manage that stress of maybe not doing anything, or of having to look for another job, I would definitely say that there are 4 things that you can do today that will really, really help you. The first advice would be to like move every day. And I understand that high achievers, I mean, now you are on holiday, so there is no really excuse, but it's like, you don't even have to do a workout. When I say move every day, if it means going on a walk just 15 minutes, I promise you it's gonna help you with your stress 100%. Research has been done, and like it really helps with stress. It helps you to like have more energy, to increase your mood. So just 15 minutes, I promise you, maybe it sounds challenging, but if you go, you'll feel so much better after it. And then you will want to go after the day after, and eventually it will become an habit. And it's also, you know, working step by step, right? So don't try to directly be like, okay, I'm going to work out every day for an hour. No, if you are not working out right now at all, just start with 15 minutes walk. And then eventually, as you see some great result coming in, then add up. But I think one thing that high achievers do, and that I do myself sometimes as well, is that sometimes we do too much. We want to achieve too many things at the same time. And so I think that's why like moving your body, but having like a step-by-step plan will make you more consistent to keep going even after the holidays. And I promise you, moving your body will decrease stress and will add energy into your life. Then I would also say the second point is obviously food, because like the food we put in our bodies is the energy we shine through. And I know it sounds a little bit crazy maybe, but I really believe this. And I mean, it has also been proven by research, right? That our gut health is also impact our brain health, which means if you eat healthy whole food, your guts will create more good bacteria. And so eventually these good bacteria which will create better chemicals that will be absorbed by your brain, and that will directly like improve your focus, improve your mood. And so food is not just food. Like I want us to stop thinking that food is just food is just calories. No, like really food is information. It's information for your body. It's information for your cells. And every time you take a bite, you either feed your body and cells or you feed the disease. And I know it sounds a little bit too crazy, but it's true, you know? And so I would really say, and I know it's the holidays, so we will all overeat. I will overeat. You will overeat. We will eat more sweet than usual. We will eat more food and processed food than usual. And that's also okay. But it's what you do most of the year that matters the most. So don't kill yourself because now for the next two weeks, you're going to overeat. That I think that's okay. But like the remaining time of the year, what are your habits and what can you do in your habits to make sure that you're like creating a life where you thrive? Because we only have one body and we only have one health. So what is the point to live if you don't feel amazing in yourself? And, you know, for me, it's also like, I love how people, they invest a lot into their home, right? We are going to invest into, any sort of material things to make our home more beautiful. But the only house that you will have to live within for the rest of your life is your body. And so please take some time to invest in your body as well. You know, so yeah, definitely food. And then one more point. Sorry,
wait, I just want to interrupt this for a minute because
please.
I want to just ask you this question because this is a little bit of a double whammy, right? Sometimes, and myself included, big time, I'm eating my feelings, right?
Totally.
So I'm eating my feelings, and that emotional roller coaster and everything that you just said, by the way, goes out the window.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, totally.
All that valuable insight, direction. And here's the thing. I know what the right thing to do is, and I still give into my feelings and do the wrong thing. So what I want to know is like, yeah, okay, fine. This is happening. I'm eating rich foods. I'm eating more sweets. But how do I kind of peel those two things away where I have to ask myself, am I just enjoying the holidays or am I just feeding my feelings? And how do I kind of
totally.
wrangle that in so it doesn't necessarily spill over into 2024.
Totally. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that, because I think we all, in a way, overeat because of emotion or because we are bored. I do it myself as well. It's not because I'm a coach that I'm perfect, not at all. And I think the most important when we have these moments, and we will have these moments again, it's recognizing, like, usually what I tell my clients is that if they feel that they are overeating, it's like, stop for a moment. And before going to the fridge, ask yourself, okay, am I eating now because I'm really hungry? Or am I eating now because I'm bored or because I just went through something emotional? And write it down. And then even if you recognize that you are having this emotional moment, you can still go to your fridge and eat, but at least recognizing that it's a pattern and that it's something you do. Like, for example, for me, I like every time I cannot do something properly, or I get like, especially when it's something technological and I can't figure it out on my computer, the first thing I do is going to the fridge. And I know for a fact I'm not hungry. It's just I'm angry at myself because I can't figure it out. And so I'm going to overeat. But then I always stop myself and I'm like, okay, why are you here? And then it's pausing and I'm like, and I always ask myself as well, I call it the apple test. I'm like, okay, would I eat an apple? Because, you know, sometimes when it's a processed food, it's so delicious, you can't resist. But an apple, it's, you know, everyone can say no to an apple, right? So if you're not really that hungry, you're not really going to want that apple. And so ask yourself, would I want to eat that apple? And if it's a no, then you know 100% that you eat because of boredom or because of the fact that you're being emotional. So, you know, but yeah, being aware of it is the most important. And it's also understanding that it's okay, you know, and not being mad at yourself, and simply recognizing that it's happening. And then what can you do to improve this over time, you know?
Thank you for that, because I think that we are all guilty of, you know, the Ben and Jerry's or whatever your go-to is. I mean, me, it's black licorice or red licorice. I don't even care. Yeah. Anything with high fructose corn syrup is a danger zone for me. So, okay, bring us back. What's your third tip? Because the first one I heard way out loud was really about just movement, moving your body. Doesn't have to be like, you know, whatever it is, core power or, you know, Orange Theory or anything like that. You don't have to kill yourself, but keep your body moving. And I love that, because if you're running around during the holidays, that's movement. And then the second one, the second one was really all about just whole foods, really whole foods, and trying to make sure that because not all calories are the same. And what's number 3?
Yeah. And then number 3, I would also say, try to sleep better. Because eventually if you don't sleep enough, then usually when you're way too tired, you will also have triggers with your hormones, and then you will feel like you're more hungry during the day. And so that can also trigger your appetite and trigger you to eat more food. So like, definitely try and prioritize your sleep. I know during the holiday, it's not always possible. And maybe there will be some nights that you can't, but at least try and get 7 hours a day, 8 hours if you can, even better. But like, definitely sleep is important. And it will also make you feel more energized and feel better, especially if you go through like stressful time of not having a job. I think sleep is super important. And then one little one as well that helps a lot of my clients, and especially high achievers that have a hard time to pause and to stop, is meditation, or like just breathing exercise, you know, where you really stop and pause. And especially if you go through a very stressful moment, this is something you can take at any time. You know, you can even go to a room by yourself, and even 5 minutes where you just focus on breathing more deeply, breathing in your belly, you know, and not only here in your chest, and really having this deeper breath is also going to help you ground, like being more grounded and feel better and be more present as well, like in the moment. because I think another thing is that sometimes we can be very into our head and, what is going to happen in the future, how I sucked at that yesterday, like either in the future or the past. And that's what makes us suffer. Because at the end of the day, if we are in the present moment right now, today, well, I know maybe you've been laid off, but you're at home with your family, you're healthy, you're sharing a great meal. And I know the unknown is scary, but if we are still in the present moment, everything is okay. And we are scared of the unknown, but think about it. Every time you went through hard times, you figured it out, right? And so it's like, you can either make yourself suffer by stressing even more, or simply, okay, now it's the holiday time. Let's enjoy that with our family. No one is going to hire you right now because most of the people are on holiday as well. So either stress yourself or be present, enjoy. And then when January 1st is coming, let's go and let's go back into action,
I just want to say the momentum that you bring is insanely contagious. And
thank you.
You're
always so nice.
Appreciate this because the real thing here is that when we are going through career transition or job search, our energy is typically not at its peak level. Let's just say 100%. That. You feel a sense of unbelonging, a sense of loss, lack of motivation, low energy. And then what happens? January 1st comes around and you're like, oh, now I have to be back on again. And so, all of these things are so critical. But what do you say to people who are really down and saying, well, this is my coping mechanism. This is how I am coping through the holidays, and I'll either deal with it later or I won't.
Yes. So I would say that, I think it is important to accept how you feel. It's, yes, positive emotion is important, but at the end of the day, if you don't feel well, I think the most important is to first embrace how you feel and not neglect these feelings, but also understand that in life, everything is temporary. And we humans, we forget that all the time, but yet it's the only constant in life is change, right? So your current situation is not going to be your situation forever. And you can either, help yourself feel better during these hard times with things you can control, because you cannot control that you've been laid off. You cannot control the recession. You cannot control certain things. And I've been there myself. I've been laid off in my life. During COVID, I lost my job. I have a corporate background, so I fully understand high achievers because I was there myself. And I cannot control to be laid off, but what I can control is how I feel inside myself. And so sometimes these negative emotions that I feel, they are temporary, but I know that if I help myself with movement and food, I will still feel these negative emotions, but it's not going to be as bad. And slowly by slowly, I'm more able to change. But if you feel really bad and then you keep going into the negative emotion and then you eat unhealthy and then you feel guilty, it's so much harder to come out of it, right? So it's like, okay, accept where you're at, but do the little things that are in your control that will help yourself and your future self. And yeah, go ahead.
No, I think that there's a lot of dignity in just taking some small actions, because I know also for myself, as I've been laid off, I go through this period where I just almost want to punish myself. And so I do that by making the problem bigger and making it harder for me to get out, rather than just kind of nurturing and feeding, both literally and figuratively, leaning into the parts of me that I can take care of and that I can do small things to feel a lot better. I want to talk about what happens on January 1st, 2024, because this whole BS around resolutions, and everybody's like, even me, I'm like, I'm going to drink more water and I'm going to eat healthier and I'm going to go to the gym more. But like we know that it never turns out that way. And over 80% of resolutions fail. And what I did was I found out that 20% are broken before the end of January.
Yeah, I know.
It's insane.
It is.
So what should we do instead? I mean, yes, I know adopt a healthy lifestyle, but when can we start, and how do we set ourselves up so we are not in the majority of people who are failing and get to show up full tilt when peak hiring season starts in January?
Yes, I think the first step is to, like, instead of having big goals that seem so unachievable, it's rather have smaller steps and create a routine that will lead you to these higher goals. So like set standard instead of goals. That's how I call it. And it's basically, so let's say I want to, like, for example, I want to lose 20 pounds. Well, losing 20 pounds seems so hard in my head because I need to change identity to get there, right? But telling myself, okay, well, every day I'm like, what are the actions that you can do every day that will lead to losing 20 pounds? And so it's like, okay, can you commit to 15 minutes walk every day? And if this is the only thing you can commit to in the start, then this is the only thing you can commit to. But start with something small that you can keep consistent for the next 6 months. And then I promise you, eventually, because you'll start seeing momentum with that small step, you'll add up. Okay, maybe the next one is, let's drink more water every single day. Let's try and drink 3 liters of water and 15 minutes of walk every day. And slowly by slowly, you'll add this small step that eventually in 6 months will lead you to lose 20 pounds. So really, instead of having these big goals and these big resolutions for New Year's, it's like, what are the standards you can hold yourself accountable every single day that will lead you to eventually getting to these goals? Because at the end of the day, it's a change of identity, and that takes work. And that's why I also always tell my clients, don't focus so much on the outcome, but focus on who you're becoming to get to the outcome, because that no one can take away from you. And eventually you'll be so proud of yourself, you'll keep going, and then you will see your results is there. You know what I mean? So I think that is what I would, that is what I would say to anyone. And also, if it's so important to you, like, do it, like, if it's really an important resolution, even if it's hard. I mean, at the end of the day, and going through my own experience, and I'm sure you've been through the same maybe, but it's like, because I've been there when I was a little bit overweight, because I was so busy at work. And at some point I was like, you know what? Like, at the end of the day, no one is coming to save me. No one cares how I feel inside myself, but I am the only one. So people don't really care, but it's like, I want to feel good in my body because it's the only house I live in, right? So
I love replacing goals for standards. And what standards a lot of high performers have is very high standards. And so I appreciate this too, because it gives you a different frame of reference to be able to apply these things in other areas of your life, so that there's a level of consistency. And when there's consistency, typically there's a greater level of positivity and self-respect and all those good things. It's like a good snowball instead of the other kind of snowball.
Totally. And if I can add one little thing, is also maybe find, like, if you can't hire a coach and you need help with your health, I would say find an accountability partner. Because especially with high achiever like us, we like accountability, right? And it's like, if we sometimes, like, when we tell something to ourselves, we don't always apply it. But when we have someone else, we're way more, we're going to show up because we have our word and we keep our words to another person. So I would say find an accountability partner and have someone checking on you, or if you can hire a coach, but like like also help yourself in that process with someone who can help you as well, you know?
Yes, I love the term. I saw this on LinkedIn. It's called net walking. Instead of networking, they're net walking, and that's a really wonderful way to kind of maybe reconnect with holiday friends or family that you haven't spent time with, and to offer up a walk and maybe go get, you know, a coffee or hot chocolate or something like that. That way,
100%.
you're really enjoying the time and you're outside and walking and moving and all that great stuff.
Yeah.
Soraya. Okay. So now we're going to move over into some signature questions before we get ready to wrap it up literally for the holidays.
Okay.
So tell us, when you are building your resources, when you're developing programs for your clients, when you are researching about a particular area that you want to explore with respect to food as information or wellness, where do you go and where should we go?
That's a good question, actually. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I don't know if you've heard of Medical Medium.
Medical Medium. Is that your go-to?
I've also, no, it's not only my go-to, but I like to listen to different like health experts and then make my own opinion. So yeah, I would say I listen to a lot of podcasts, but also for me, at the end of the day, you can have all the theory in the world. It's about experiencing it, and it's about practice. So I like to experience for myself. So for example, right now I haven't eaten meat in 7 years, and a lot of my clients, most of my clients, they eat meat. I used to eat meat, but it doesn't work for my body. Just like dairy, for example, but I wouldn't know until I experience it for myself, right? And so with all my clients, that's why everyone is unique. Everyone has a different body. That's why everyone will have a different diet and a different way to move. So yeah, I would say it's great to have the theory, to read about all this research, but then apply it for yourself and see how it makes your body react and function, you know? That's what I would say. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
No, definitely. This is not the kind of thing like parenting. You can go read all the books you want, but at the end of the day,
exactly.
No one can tell you what to do.
100%.
It's your opportunity.
Yeah. And also, sorry, but like, and also finding a balance where, because, you know, especially food is also pleasure. Food is, it's so much more, right?
So many things.
Yeah. And it's social. Exactly. Like it's so don't, like, that's why I don't believe in diet, but like really learn a way that you still enjoy your food and still are able to eat healthy without saying no to your favorite food. You know what I mean?
Moderation. Such an easy word and such a hard practice.
Yeah.
The next question, actually, we may have just answered this, is if you were to put a reminder, especially now when typically during the holidays we have a different structure. We need things that kind of give us some grounding. What would that Post-it be, or a reminder that, you know, we can still take care of ourselves and also enjoy the holidays without going too far in either direction?
Can you clarify a little bit on this question? Like what?
A Post-it, a little reminder, something that you would put up to just kind of have a message from you to you and keep you on the straight and narrow.
That's a good question, actually. I mean, for me, it's like, yeah, maybe the little Post-it that I would have is love yourself enough to know that you deserve everything that you possibly can have, like everything that you want. And so, you know, every time you choose food, it's not that, like, it's like love yourself enough to say yes to better nutritious food. Love yourself enough to say to limited alcohol, for example. And, you know, it's like you can take a little bit, but why overindulge all the time and then feel bad after it? So for me, every time, because really I have a huge sweet tooth and I can finish a cheesecake. And sometimes for me, it's really hard to actually say no to certain things. But it's like, it's not that I say no. It's just like, okay, I love myself enough. I know I deserve better. And I know I deserve to feel good. And usually when I overindulge and I go over, then I don't feel well for days. And for me, that bad feelings, I don't enjoy it at all. So I just stopped before I go to that bad feeling, if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah, it has a hangover effect, right? You do
Exactly,
this and then it's like, oh, I know.
Yeah,
I've been there myself. Popcorn's a real guilty pleasure for me. And I
remember that.
Overindulging that all the time. Oh my God, it's awful.
Yes.
All right.
And it's also, if you do it, fully enjoy it. Like, you know, if you have, no, seriously, like if I decide, because it's all about decision, right? So if you decide that, okay, you know what, tonight I'm going all in, or tonight I'm going to finish that huge bag of popcorn. Okay. It's fully enjoy it. Don't guilt yourself. Don't feel bad after it. It's like, okay, it was your decision. Fully accept it. And tomorrow is another day. That's what I always tell my people, my clients. It's like, what you do consistently is where the result is at. So if you overeat for 10 days out of 365 days, you're still going to have amazing results. It's not about the 10 days of Christmas. It's about what you do for the remaining time of the year. So also don't overstress and don't, you know, make yourself feel bad, because there is nothing bad. I will overeat. I will overindulge. I will eat way more sweet than usual. You will probably eat way more popcorn, and that's okay. You know, that's totally okay. Like the next 355 days of the year, we can be way more consistent in our approach. So
all right, here's the last question.
Yourself.
Here's the last question, because I got to hear this. What is your walk-up song? So what is the song that like gets you going and like it's almost like a no fail?
That's such a good question, actually. You know what? It's so funny because I do walk every day, right? I go every day on a walk for at least an hour, and I actually don't really. I listen to podcasts. So yeah, I would say like, I don't know if you know Ed Milet, but I love Ed Milet, and so that's like one of the podcasts that I listen to the most. But a song, I mean, I love, maybe it's like old school, but I love Michael Jackson and like anything type of R&B, you know, stuff like that.
All right.
So like Thriller and things like this, I love it. Yeah. What about you, actually? I want to know.
I mean, everybody knows I'm a Bee Gees fan, so I'm not sharing anything newsworthy here. I'm more interested in what gets you going, because music is a great motivator. And if you are looking to enjoy this holiday, make sure it is filled with love, great tunes, lots of yummy food, and make sure that you are loving on yourself, both with the choices that you make and the decisions that are to come. So thank you so much, Soraya. And also for all of you who are listening, please make sure that you find Soraya on LinkedIn, on Instagram. We'll put both of those links in there. She also works internationally, so you can work with her remotely at any time. She's incredible. Check out her content on LinkedIn. And if you like this episode, please make sure that you write a podcast review, because we appreciate them. And this way other people will too. So thank you again, and talk to you soon. Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you for joining today. We appreciate your listening ears. Big time. We ask this: use these tools, not tomorrow, right now, and share them by spreading the love, leaving us a rating and subscribe so you don't miss the next career blast in a half. Most of all, thank you for you.